Hi, it's me, Ingrid INFP, and I wanted to talk about an article by Lenore Thomson's INFP description, and I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to see if I agree. I started by doing a video of this where I read the whole article, but I'm going to just do the parts that are in big letters because this video was 20 minutes long and I didn't even get to half of it. So we're going to focus on the important aspects. I want to also point out that I have created a Ko-fi, which is a website that you can donate $2 for a coffee. I'm not going to be using it for a coffee. I'm going to be using it to buy Renaud Contini's book, The Ecstatic Soul, which I haven't read yet, but I would recommend other people looking at. I just really want to read that book because it's about the INFJ and how the INFJ consciousness works. So yeah, feel free to donate. I don't know why anybody would donate, but maybe you're feeling the Christmas cheer, you know? So with that said, let's go. So the INFP is a type that says, still waters run deep. Oriented by introverted feeling and extroverted intuition, they're both highly individualistic and quietly tolerant of others' ideas. Yes, we're idealistic and open. Introverted feeling determines subjective values, convictions about how life is best lived. Yes, that is how you could describe it. Such values are trained by direct experience of good and bad behaviors, and they claim us from within. But relationship gradually teaches us that some of them transcend our individual circumstances, linking us irrevocably with other human beings. Yes, so even though we feel inside for our individual circumstance, our feelings, other people have also those feelings. So we see that in other human beings and we can connect to them through that. And we are a little bit good and bad. We are a little bit black and white at first. That's how we determine our values. Here it says we're only found in 1% of the population, but no, we are not. We are 4% of the population according to the latest statistics, which are still old. But we are more common than this article. This article was written, I think, during Clinton's time because she talks about Bill Clinton. So I think that's pretty old. It's a rare INFP who doesn't see in nature's underlying pattern intimations of a larger purpose. Yes, we see meaning in the world and we are really interested in that. INFPs yearn to experience oneness with their circumstances. Intuition doesn't push INFPs to act, it pushes to interpret, to see the potential in their thoughts and behaviors in terms of their ideals. And yeah, so unfortunately we're not like ISFPs. We struggle to act and we daydream about stuff instead of being at one with our circumstances. The ideals of holistic, yes. We are about ideals, about intuition. It says introverted feeling prompts them to hold unconditional human values, and they use intuition to figure out what that means in terms of their existential context. Yes, we really are into human values, and we have existential thoughts all the time. Such types feel responsible for their hidden emotions, even if their behaviors exceed people's expectations. And that's kind of linked to my empathy video, where I acted right, but I was feeling guilty about my own emotions, so I felt worried that I had bad intentions, but actually it didn't matter because I did the right thing. I helped the patient. So go check that video out. They focus on what it is to be human, but their outward behaviors vary widely. And yes, we are very different from one another, I think, compared to how other types are. INFPs, since we're all into individuality, obviously we're going to be very different. Although they identify strongly with expressions of joy, sorrow, pain, and vulnerability in others, and respond compassionately to people who leave them, they're accessible only up to a point. And yes, we are not endlessly caring and compassionate. So check out my empathy video. I would also say that this is a little bit more of an INFJ thing, but it's an introvert thing too. We can't deal with people too long. They're often wry, and if they're comfortable, they contribute to a running pattern of perceptive remarks and observations. And yeah, I think that that's true. We like our little insights, our little remarks. So yeah. These types are sympathetic listeners, generally interested in what others do and believe. And yes, we are interested in what others do and believe. And we want to listen, so we're good listeners. These types have high romantic ideals. INFPs long for a communication of mind, body, and spirit, and they vision a partner who can appreciate the nature of their inner world and give them access to it in sexual terms. So I'm not really interested in sex, but I do long for connection, communication, deep soul-binding stuff, you know? So I guess I do have high ideals. I try to lower them, but, you know, standards. However, like all P-types, they don't want to set goals for their relationships. They want good things to happen naturally, to grow out of the situation as it exists. Yeah, we like that. Moreover, their finely tuned intuitive skills lead them to believe that the right person would see through all the surface nonsense to the potential within. Read it in their body language, their musical tastes, the images that move them, the underlying meaning of their words. And yeah, we do want people to see us for who we are inside and go past the surface level stuff, and see who we want to be. This ideal picture is also a consequence of their holistic point of view. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. INFPs may get at their self-experience only when it conflicts with their external choices. Here it explains a little bit better. Even those INFPs who have plugged themselves into a career that allows them to do something meaningful and good may not feel sure that they're doing enough. They're nagged by an impression that something else is supposed to happen. Something will tell them what they're really meant to do. And that's the story of my life. Like, it's hard to make choices because I don't feel like I'm myself, you know, and maybe this isn't what I was meant to do, to be in this career. And I'm not sure that this is for me. Is this meaningful? For me, I don't know. Their values have no predictable reference points in law and social convention. They cut through all that to the heart of the matter. And I'd agree with that. TE is against us, you know, and our values are highly personal, so they're not really always what society wants. Their values are more fundamental than institutional priorities. And they're constantly frustrated with the time and energy they spend on structural maintenance. Yes, so the social system is a little bit against us. We're more interested in our own values than in the values that's in the group. That's what FI versus FE is. The right brain character or the feeling goals suggest a life spent in pilgrimage, free from objective attachments, even a sense of home. Yeah, I mean, if I were to just follow my feeling around, I would not be here. I would be traveling around the world, just bouncing everywhere, you know? exploring. So frustration gradually pushes INFPs into using their intuition defensively to protect what feels like their true self against the imperfect outer situation they're living in. They feel guilty about this too because they think they ought to be satisfied with what is, after all, a perfectly decent life course. Yeah, I have a successful life, of course. I'm a doctor, and I feel guilty about not being satisfied where I am. I don't think I'll ever be satisfied. It's just like I'll never find the true self. But I want to protect my true self against all of this barrage of stuff coming at me, all of the problems that my situation is. INFPs who are relying on the intuition this way usually take one of two directions. Either they become permanent seekers. Oh wow, I really looked at this. Good at many things, but disinclined to stick with any for long, or they become somewhat passive, unable to articulate what they want and dissatisfied with what they're doing. I think that you can be both at the same time. At the moment, I'm like in the passive, unable to articulate and what I want and dissatisfied. But then I'm also a seeker, like I'm looking at all sorts of other options all the time. But I am sticking with one thing. If I were to follow that other seeking part of me, I wouldn't have gone through medical school. I would have just jumped from job to job, basically. Not getting into anything really for long. And I know that a lot of INFPs are like that. D from all the INFP Insights is a little bit like that. And then there's this other guy who's a little bit like that. What's his name? I don't know. Anyway, it's a male INFP who's out there on the internet. When INFPs spend most of their energy protecting their inner realm from attachment to an imperfect outer situation, their least development functions, extroverted thinking, doesn't get very conscious. Because he is the external world, so yeah. They have a hard time organizing their own lives. INFPs need to use their intuition in a generally extroverted way. They're accustomed to using intuition to figure out how to deal with an existing context. They need to apply it instead to the task of defining what an objectively good situation would look like. So instead of being like trying to figure out how to deal with the existing situation and like surviving, we're supposed to like define what a good situation would be like. But that's hard. It says this is by no means easy for INFPs to do. When they stop using intuition to defend themselves, which is like what I do on a daily basis, their first instinct to assert the importance of their feeling goals. They challenge people, question aspects of the situation that strike them as problematic. It's introversion that strives to adapt the objective situation to itself. And that's how I feel like I complain about like the situation that I'm in right now. But yeah, I don't know if that's the solution. Extroverted thinking becomes so profoundly unconscious that it floods them with impulses directly opposed to their feeling aims. And you can go and look at that empathy video that I made where I felt like I was losing my empathy. Because there I felt like extroverted thinking was flooding me with impulses opposed to my feeling aims. So like I want to be a person who is empathetic. I want to be a person who is compassionate. But extroverted thinking makes me just think about like what is going to be efficient. So yeah. They feel the influence of their thinking function, but they mistake it for an outward problem. They feel increasingly thwarted and boxed in, false to their real selves, and they're sure the real thing is their accommodating spirit. As they go back to using extroverted intuition as a defense, but more aggressively because the stakes are higher, decide to fight some of the things that are hemming them in. So yeah, it's like I can blame it all I want on the medical system and medical school and such, but actually it's the fact that I haven't followed my ideals, and I chose this in a way. So I can choose to follow my feeling, or I can box myself in. So yeah, that's a problem. Then there's a whole bunch of stuff. They talk about how INFPs don't like conflict, so they're often passive-aggressive. Yeah, I guess we don't like conflict. Blah, 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 blah. Let's go back to what's in big letters. INFPs under the influence of extroverted feeling are not unlike these characters. They're self-conscious rather than idealistic. Their actions aren't being guided by an inner code, leading them to positive action, but need to defend themselves against others' priorities. And that's true. That's what I just explained. You want to go according to your inner code, but instead you and be idealistic, but instead you are more like, you don't want to do things wrong. You don't want to go against what other people prioritize, which is efficiency and, being a cog in the machine. In fact, such types usually find that ignoring others' expectations doesn't give them enough protection, and they turn to introverted sensation, their tertiary function, to keep their feeling values intact. They literally avoid situations that don't accord with their primary self-experience, forfeiting relationships, rather than experience inner conflict. Now that is a lot to unpack, but yeah, we do turn to SI. It is hard to ignore other people's expectation. Ignoring them, it's a state where you're vulnerable. So instead, it's more safe to go into your introverted functions and turn in on yourself. And then you miss out on quite a lot. Because you don't want to experience that inner conflict of FIT all the time. You don't want to do the anything of going outside the box, because it's scary. The more unconscious extroverted thinking becomes, the more INFPs call attention to themselves in their attempt to keep their environment congenial to their values. Yeah, I guess that this could happen. Hard for me to say. Tell me what you guys think about that. They do need to be true to themselves. However, introverted sensation doesn't help them do this. It keeps them locked with things that they are. It turns their ideals into an external value system that defines some situations as congenial to their needs and others not, leaving them with no choice but to stay out of the ones that aren't. Yes, so you're supposed to, as an INFP, according to this, you should be true to your own values, but trying to conform to other people's expectations and their external value system. You're going to be in a problem. Also, introverted sensation wants you to be safe, and you'll see that a lot of situations will be bad for your needs. And so in the end, you have no choices left if you're going to be avoiding all the stuff that feels bad. So SI can be a problem where nothing is comfortable. You always have to go outside of your comfort zone. When INFPs develop sufficient intuition, they stop focusing on things as they are and begin to see new possibilities for action. That's good. We need to take action, so seeing possibilities with NE is great. When INFPs first make contact with the extroverted character of their intuition, they see it in the same terms. is a shallow approach to life without meaning. Yeah, so it's like the opposite of, like, FI wants things to be deep, to have meaning, but NE is kind of flighty and silly, you know, so maybe it's kind of shallow because it's an extroverted function, so it's more surface level. But it invites them to give up their expectations, live in perceptual harmony with anything that happens. So you have to adapt. When you have NE helps you adapt, but you have to give up some of your FI expectations and values, well, expectations, in order to adapt to how the situation of life goes. Not be as rigid, be more flexible. The more they see that their values have nothing to do with their comfort or discomfort in any situation, they constitute a way of seeing life, a way to relating to any situation. And that's true. The more FI matures, the more you see that you can deal with a lot of different things, and it doesn't need to cause an inner conflict because you have such a strong foundation in your feelings. So yeah, that is that. Then there's a whole bunch of other stuff, but it's not in bold, so I just focused on the stuff that was in bold. Now the video is over 20 minutes long. Tell me what you guys think about this article. Maybe you're bored to death and hate these kinds of videos. I just couldn't come up with a video topic today, so this is what I came down to. Tell me what you guys think. Have a great day.